But creator marketing has become so big and such a huge part of everyone's life that it is such an important marketing channel now for every single business. And Claude Code started going ham on creator marketing, and everybody was like, holy shit, this is growing so fast. Well, yes, they built a great product, but they also used creator marketing to architect this narrative that everybody on Instagram was trying Claude Code and it was working really well. But the majority of these people were briefed creators, and that worked really, really well to tell that story. And what is the method of distribution that stands out, especially with AI tools? It's actually humans talking about these AI tools. It's one thing to build an agent. It's another thing to go through a 6, sometimes 12-month procurement cycle at a company like L'Oreal. Or in some cases, DoorDash, getting it done in 60 days, fastest procurement cycle in, history of DoorDash. Super fast deal.
What's something that you think is around the horizon that you talk about in your peer circle that you think people's heads are still in the sand about?
They just have no freaking clue what they can do with AI. It used to be that the limit of the output of your product was a technical thing. Like the limit of what a user could do with Archive 2 years ago, or OpenAI or Claude, was, is this built? Does this feature exist? Now, a lot of times the output is the human not knowing they can type that into the text box and get something more complicated done. I really think that's the massive bottleneck of productivity in most companies.
Stay cracked.
Yes, we have to.
Paul, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Of course, it's always good.
Always great. We're dialing in from Miami, Rachael Ferm, Director of Investments at FLF, and
Paul Benigeri, co-founder and CEO of Archive.
We are extremely proud and excited to have invested in Archive Series A in the fall, and really looking forward to a conversation with Paul today to learn all things about Archive and honestly use Archive as a case study for what enterprise AI means, where it's going, and what we're looking for when we invest and when we build.
No, excited to chat and appreciate you backing us. It's been awesome to have you all on the cap table. Big shout out. Thank you to you. Also Saxon and the rest of the team. You guys have been awesome, and it's been a really, really, really good partnership.
Thank you so much. It's just the beginning, and we're thrilled.
Lots more to build.
Amen to that. So speaking of that, let's get started. Give the audience a baseline. What is Archive? What problem are you solving? What do you do?
Of course, we're Archive. We're building agents to help brands scale creative marketing. We have seen that there's over $1 trillion of marketing spend right now, and it's shifting very quickly because of one question. Who do humans trust when they think about buying products? And the question is other humans. And we see a world where people are buying way more from other humans, especially with so much AI slop. And that's why creative marketing is so important. Traditionally, it's been you have to hire a team to go recruit a bunch of influencers. And so we build agents to automate all of that so that brands can essentially scale their credit card and use our agents to go find more creators, transact with those creators, report on that content, iterate, and all of that very, very menial stuff.
What exactly does it mean to you when everyone uses the word agents? What does it mean that Archive is fundamentally building an agentic marketing department?
Yeah, there's so many different ways that people can build agents. And for me, the core part that we care about in our flavor of agents is that instead of having software that can automate bits and pieces, you can now operate a higher level of things like tasks or chunks of labors. And it's done with a combination of essentially LLMs running with their own minds or with their own controls. And you kind of combine them together in a system where they feed off each other, work on each other, and they can do much more things than just a simple calculation, which was what software did in the past. And so building agents really, from a software perspective, means building a system of LLMs that can continue running over time, feeding off of each other, learning from each other, and there's different approaches to that system. From a user experience perspective, what it actually means for a human that wants to use agents instead of software, it basically implies that you're going to leverage some sort of AI model, some sort of AI intelligence, but instead of using an LLM to do a single answer, Q&A, it's going to do a lot more than that. It's going to have access to tools. It's going to have access to other software. It's maybe going to have memory. To me, agents is just a slightly more complicated version of an LLM, right? That's got a bunch of additional features and functionality. They're called agent harnesses that you can use to build much more powerful software or user experiences than you could with just software or just a basic large language model.
Thank you. That is really helpful. You sell into both customers who are incumbents, businesses and organizations that have been around for decades who have built entire organizations around human labor and, of course, just traditional organizational structure. But then you also are selling into AI native companies, some of the biggest LLMs, and actually selling into, in some ways, agentic departments themselves. Tell us a little bit about how that business model, that sales cycle, like what differs?
Yeah, it's super interesting. And the reason why that shift has been happening for us is because we came from the AI side as builders, Jeff and I, background at Stanford, and then we built for consumer brands. And so for a long time, we built tools for consumer brands. And creator marketing was really something focused for consumer brands in the past. You think of, Fit Tea or Kim Kardashian products or, these CPG and physical goods or beauty products doing creator marketing. But creator marketing has become so big and such a huge part of everyone's life that it is such an important marketing channel now for every single business. And there was a little bit of a wake-up moment, I would say, over New Year's when Claude Code started going ham on creator marketing. And everybody was like, holy shit, this is growing so fast. Well, yes, they built a great product, but they also used creator marketing to architect this narrative that everybody on Instagram was trying Claude Code and it was working really well. But the majority of these people were briefed creators, and that worked really, really well to tell that story. And so now every single AI company, and there's been moments like this in the past with companies like Notion doing well, but this was really a pivotal moment where every AI company realizes that when the products look and feel the same and it's so easy to build, distribution becomes critical and becomes paramount. And what is the method of distribution that stands out, especially with AI tools? It's actually humans talking about these AI tools. You're not going to trust an AI really at the beginning. Eventually you'll trust the AI more than the human, maybe, but at the beginning, you're not going to trust a website to tell you about an AI tool. You're not going to trust a Facebook ad about an AI tool. But if this really smart software engineer that works at Google or whatever makes a post on Instagram and says, hey, I use this AI tool, watch me do it, here's proof and it works, then wow, I believe in it. And so we've seen a huge amount of AI companies really, really pivot towards actively seeking creators. And they want to do more of it. And they don't like it because it's so manual. You got to email them, you got to negotiate with them, and there's so many of them. It's very, very labor bottleneck. That's why there's a big need for agents to help streamline all of that.
Totally. And you made a really good point about kind of this software is dead, even if AI tools are software and it's confusing, but maybe one of the differentiators is about the budget that you're selling into, right? So there's software budgets, but then you as Archive are also tackling a huge, huge labor bottleneck. Yeah,
for sure. So when we started Archive, we started off as PLG and we were selling these $9 a month plans. And then we over time evolved to a sales motion, selling multiple hundreds of $1,000 deals to enterprises and companies like DoorDash, things like that. Really great companies that are buying software, right? And so that's a decent amount to spend on software. Now that we are actually doing a lot of the work, we're getting those contracts over. First of all, they're closing in weeks, and instead of over years, it's over a few months for a pilot, because the delta is instead of hiring humans that are going to use our tool and having to pay for the tool, you can now have a couple of options. You want to go spend on creator marketing, right? And you have three options now. You can go buy an agency, which is going to be expensive, but you don't have to recruit in-house, and they're really marking up labor. You can go recruit a bunch of humans, and humans are expensive. You have to train them. They have salaries and they quit sometimes and all of that. Or now you can buy an agentic solution like Archive with some forward deploy experts that are going to make sure the solution works really well in your business. And it's priced in between software and building your own team, but it works way, way, way better than both. And we've seen crazy acceleration through that. And that's actually a model that works really well for incumbents and also really well for fast-moving AI companies, because they can say, hey, go solve all these problems, go solve all these problems. They don't have to configure the software. We can handle it all for them because we have great professionals and influencer marketing experts that are deeply integrated with the AI systems that we deploy in the enterprise.
What are founders and investors not understanding about how business models are shifting for AI native companies?
I think it's very hard to predict how much things are going to change. We're just seeing things happening in the market that not a lot of people would have predicted 2 years ago, right? These darling companies are getting knocked out. And it's very hard to actually predict the type of software companies that are going to earn the chance to pivot into something bigger, right? I don't think there's going to be two companies in the world, just the labs, making all the money in the world, right? I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that people pay to use intelligence. And I think there's going to be a lot of value around the edges for great software companies and system of records to be built. And there's so many approaches. I think the most important thing right now is the rate of shipping and the rate of iterating with customers, the rate of adapting technology, and also the rate of growth. Because at the end of the day, companies have to survive, right? And in order to unlock the ability to build the product that you're going to build in a year or 2 years, then you need the capital, whether it comes from investors or whether it comes from product and traction. If you have investors, you need the product and traction as well, to be able to continue along that wave, right? So the most important thing from my perspective is to keep surfing that and try to find different ways to build moats over time. But it's super difficult. Nobody really knows what that's going to look like. There's different ideas, different angles, but things are moving so quickly that being adaptable and being ahead of the curve is the only thing that matters. Customer relationships are really, really important. And I think that's one of the reasons why the forward deployed expert model is really exciting. It's because eventually software or agents, right, will be able to plug into a business just as well as an agency can, or just as well as a super senior experienced full-time hire can. It's going to be just as good. Your AI is going to join your Zoom call. Eventually it'll be an Optimus. It'll be at your office. It can do stuff as well. But it's only a matter of time, because that interface between the human and the company and the agents actually becomes just as high throughput as having a super senior, 10 years of experience employee that's got that experience. And what companies need to do is get in there and unlock those relationships. And I think it's okay at the beginning to have humans in the loop in there to lock that in and, solve for the abstractions that aren't built yet. But over time, AI is going to get so good that if we do that, then we're going to be able to peel away more and more things that humans are doing that are labor bottlenecks, and eventually move towards full agents. So one great example is 1 year ago, you really couldn't use LLMs to review videos. Gemini was just coming out, and there wasn't a really good way to do that. Now there's Gemini Flash, there's Gemini Pro, there's dozens of open source models. And so a year ago, you'd be in a pretty good position if you had a software with a human in the loop that would do the last mile, which is watch the video to, say, review an influencer's post. Now that's automated, right? But having a human in the loop means you can just swap that in really fast and get way further, way faster, versus saying, hey, we can't build it because we don't have any humans and it's all software.
Right. And you're touching on something interesting, which is the last mile and where the limits of horizontal players or large LLMs for someone vertical like Archive, which is focused on a specific department or specific function. And probably the answer to who will win, horizontal versus vertical, changes by industry. But something we love at FLF about Archive is how much conviction we have that this is not something that players would ever be incentivized to build in-house versus participate in, the benefits of buying Archive, one, and two, that it's just going to have limits for horizontal players. So this is something we've discussed and nerded out about a little bit. Tell the audience a bit of your thesis.
It's super important to have data and system of record, and it will be very difficult for these AI labs to build the perfect database for every single company in the world. I think that's very difficult. And people see the limits when they vibe code different things. At a certain point, there's a limiting point. And of course, you're going to be able to vibe code more, but the real trade-off is your time spent vibe coding an app going to be worth it, given that you can maybe pay a little bit more for a company like Archive to go do it for you. And we're vibe coding on exponential levels. Like, we've got a bunch of engineers vibe coding this, vibe coding this, vibe coding this, even further and faster. And so one of the moats is rate of acceleration, right? If we're constantly leveraging the latest harnesses, the latest technology, then and integrating that into a consumer or AI brand infrastructure connected to their marketing stack, that's already really valuable, because, well, when Claude Code launches some other thing, we have it faster than you can vibe code yourself. And we can just keep building and keep building and keep building. And if we're not building faster and faster at a compounding rate than what you can vibe code yourself, then that's very difficult. The other thing is data, and really, really specialized data, context around which creators are working, on which platforms, who are they transacting with, what's working for this brand, that brand. There's a whole massive amount of things happening on social that we have access to with our platform partnerships and the data we've built over a long time. I think that's going to be very difficult to replicate. And again, if we get escape velocity fast enough, then we compound that data way faster than eventually a lab being able to build it themselves, right? And again, they have a lot of problems. They have a lot of things they're working on, and they're just not going to be able to compete with every single software engineering in the world, especially when the great software engineers are now able to move with the speed of 30 agents at one time. And so the data side is really important. And the third is actually going to be taste. I think taste is really important, and good AI software and good agentic systems are really building a lot of taste. So what I mean by that is, imagine you have a sales agent. Well, you could imagine a sales agent for door-to-door insurance sales and a sales agent for enterprise SaaS. It's kind of different. All good, you can do whichever you want, but there's things that work in one, things that don't work in the other. And so if you just encode a ton of knowledge and taste into that system that makes it really good in, let's say, that niche, right, or that industry, then it's going to perform a lot better. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge amount of value in building that out. So for Archive, what this means effectively is we are very, very focused, for example, on supporting AI companies. And so we have the best understanding of the campaigns for AI companies. We have the best understanding of the hooks and the data and all of that. And it would be very, very difficult. Right. And we see it. You could literally ask, hey, ChatGPT or Claude Code or whatever, go find me XYZ for this. Go do it with Archive. The results are exponentially better in Archive right now because all of those things compound just for that use case that we've been focused on.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the long tail, first of all, that makes a lot of sense. So there's a long tail structurally in the market, but there's also like a very long tail, longer than a lot of people realize, in terms of influencers. So probably a lot of people think influencers, a few big names, huge contracts, but you guys are figuring out how to scale that long tail into micro influencers. So help us understand how big this opportunity is and what influencer really means to Archive beyond, or creator means beyond what someone might think.
Right now there's $1 trillion of marketing spend, and we're seeing a huge swing towards that. It's compounding really quickly, and brands cannot spend as much money as they want in creator marketing. When we talk to some of the biggest CPGs in the world, the biggest corporations in the world, they all have the same problem. We want to do more in creator marketing, but we can't spend on it. We literally can't spend on it. I want to spend 50% of my budget, and these are companies that have billions of dollars of marketing budgets. Unilever publicly mentioned that they want one influencer in every single zip code. I mean, that's an insane amount of influencers. I don't even remember how many zip codes it is, but that's a lot. Like just in this country alone, there's a lot. Think about every country they're in. And the way that social platforms have changed has meant that everybody can be an influencer really quickly. So people already want to spend more, and they can't because it's bottlenecked by labor. You literally have to go hire another human to go manage, let's say, 50 influencers. You want to spend your budget against 100 influencers to target multiple people or campaigns, 2 humans, 3 humans, that stacks up. And that is a bottleneck. People literally can't do it. Imagine if every time you wanted to run Facebook ads, every time you spend an incremental $50,000, you got to hire a human. Facebook would not be a good business. But you can just ramp up the credit card slider and spend as much as you can. And so once that gets solved, people will be spending way more in the channel.
Such a good analogy.
Way more in the channel. And when you think about creators, that inventory is becoming almost infinite. Everybody wants to become a creator. And what's going to happen once you have agents at work? People are going to go on Instagram. They're going to spend more time on Instagram. They're literally waiting for ChatGPT to finish, and they're on Instagram spending more time on Instagram. And what are people going to do when AI is going to do all this great stuff? They're going to go create content. They're going to go be YouTubers, Instagram. People are doing it all the time. They're making UGC programs. All of these high school kids in college are joining these Discords to create content. It's a new thing. There's going to be an insane amount of content creators. And well, if more people are going to be content creators, and it's going to obviously be easier to create content because there's all these AI tools that are going to help you make better content, what's going to happen to the amount of content that can be produced? It's going to just massively explode. So there's more inventory that's going to happen on the watcher side. There's more inventory on the content side. And all of this content is not ad inventory because Facebook can't put that many ads on Instagram. There's a certain amount of limit because people will just leave and go use other platforms. But the amount of organic content that can be influencer marketed is just skyrocketing like crazy. So we're talking about billions and billions of pieces of content per day eventually. How the hell is a brand going to manage that? How the hell is a brand going to manage that? And there's so much alpha in managing that well. Because if we're selling hats, right, we have maybe 10 different hats for 10 different niches. There's a skiing hat, there's a podcaster hat, and there's like a finance bro hat. Well, maybe you have 3 different campaigns, right? Maybe if you have 100 SKUs, maybe you have 100 different campaigns. Once you can activate creators, so once you have that programmatic abstraction on top of these creators, which is what we're building at Archive, you can just say, hey, $1 million, go spend 100,000 on this, 100,000 on that, and we'll automatically go activate and optimize over time. So it unlocks a massive amount of spend that people literally can't do right now.
And part of this is also targeting people who wouldn't even necessarily characterize themselves as influencers off the jump, more micro influencers or people who are bringing a large brand, a specific brand presence into their social presence.
There's 2 types of people on Instagram these days that are creating content for brands or TikTok. There's going to be your influencer. That's going to be someone that's building an audience. And so you work with them because they have influence and credibility, and you pay them to distribute some sort of content against their audience. And the content itself is valuable, but what's really important is the content being distributed against their audience.
Right.
Then there's a whole other swarm of these people coming out that are faceless creators, clippers, UGC creators. So these are people that have no audience, but they are content creators. They will just create these accounts and create a ton of content, and some of it will go viral. And that's a whole new aspect of creator marketing as well that is hard for brands to even understand and fathom, which is you might be, and this is very common, you've got some high school kids doing this and some college kids doing this. You create a channel on TikTok and you make some good content. It goes viral. It doesn't need followers, but that content goes viral. And we see companies like Kalshi, Polymarket doing really, really well with these clipping movements where they have people clip streamers, post, and then put a logo or put an ad at the end. But the bottom line is the number of people that are creating content is going up exponentially, and the volume of content creation is going up exponentially as well. And so how can a brand think that you can go have a team of humans to go manage that? It is overwhelming.
You're definitely really painting the picture for why there's such a strong case for the vertical and how long that long tail of data distribution to sheer market size is for Archive. I think that actually lends itself to your relationship with Mark Chen, who is chief research scientist or head of research at OpenAI, and his identification, even knowing what a platform like OpenAI is capable of, that Archive specifically in this application, in this market size, and the size of labor bottleneck was an excellent application of AI. Tell us about your relationship with Mark and what do you think he saw in you?
No, obviously Mark is one of the brightest minds in AI. He's built a lot of cool things at OAI. Some we can talk about, some we can't. And we have a lot of AI folk, other VPs and AI execs that came in on the last round, alongside you. When we think about building a company and when we talk about the things I believe will make a company successful, we see that in Archive. We have traction there. Number one is going to be enterprise brand relationships. It's one thing to build an agent. It's another thing to go through a 6, sometimes 12-month procurement cycle at a company like L'Oreal, or in some cases DoorDash, getting it done in 60 days, fastest procurement cycle in history of DoorDash. Super fast deal.
That's amazing.
I guess since they created procurement, I'm sure early days. But the point is that was something that they saw, and that just shows that we're working on a big, real problem that enterprise businesses are willing to pay for. That's actually really important. Like, the technology is cool and all that, and we have a lot of fun building it, but you could build great tech and have customers that don't have high willingness to pay, and you're not in a good spot. The second thing is the data aspect of things. We have phenomenal infrastructure that can watch up to 10 million videos a day and understand it, map it out, Incredible. Which means that we have a really, really good understanding of what the hell is going on the internet. And that's really important because it's a very important input into your most important marketing campaigns, right? Marketing now moves at the speed of social. There's new trends every day, every minute, every hour. And so if you're doing creator marketing, which I think is the most important marketing channel in the world right now, in a 60-day or 90-day cycle, you're cooked. It's too late. Your hooks are gone. It won't work. So for example, when our agents brief influencers, we pull data from the 10 million videos we watched today, And we're like, here are the 3 hooks that are relevant to your business, to the audience that will go viral today. And we can just inject this live data into the performance. And it's social, so we know these templates work better, and it drives massive performance. That was an example where we actually have meaningful data, and it flywheels into business results. And therefore, we expect that more businesses will want to pay for this, and we'll be able to get more data, invest more in it. And there's a really good flywheel there. The second thing is, when we look at the market and the opportunity, we estimate $100 billion of human labor over the next 5 years that is going to be done manually doing creative marketing. Combination of people.
100 billion.
Combination of people in PR agencies, combination of people in traditional ad agencies. That's not to say everybody's a creative marketer, but when we look at data that surveys what percentage of marketers today say a percentage of their job is creative marketing, that's 80%. So almost any marketer today is doing a big component of creative marketing. Every company. And all of these people are doing very, very manual things. It's a massive opportunity. And what we're saying is all of the manual things you have to do to activate those creators, read the email, send a negotiation, put this number here, put this number there. It is so blindingly obvious that we can give people leverage back by automating that with AI. And so when we look at the combination of all 3 of these things, they're pretty excited. And it really feels like this is a very, very powerful category, but it's also not directly something that the labs are going to build. At least I like to think so, or else maybe some of the people there would also not have invested given their potential understanding of their own roadmaps. So I think there's a big opportunity here, and we're excited to work on it.
We could not agree more. We are so excited about the opportunity and how you are executing against it constantly, and how quickly the roadmap is developing. There's nothing better than a Paul and Jeff text on the weekend with a new product ship. It is the first thing Sax and I rush to on our phones, and it's just continues to blow the mind.
Either that or the RFP victory that we must not talk about. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
When you say we must not talk about it, is that tongue in cheek? Can we actually not talk about it? Can we?
Big opportunity with a big AI company that's going super well. So, fun text. Leave it at that.
All right. So let's wrap this up here with, a few quick questions. First of all, let's get a little bit provocative about the future. 1, who should be scared in your tech stack?
So we are currently deleting a number of vendors. Retool is one of them.
Okay, big.
Rest in peace, Retool. Sorry. Launch Darkly is another one of them. Feature Flag development tool. And we've had I think a lot of the developer tooling is in dire need to pivot or update, just because it's faster oftentimes to build that on the fly and there's not a lot of system of record. So that's dangerous. All of the sales and marketing, all of the sales tech stack that does not read directly from our CRM is gone. Outreach, Zoom info, we're deleting a lot of those. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. We basically delete all of our credit cards every 3 to 6 months and hardcore negotiate every vendor. And it's been a very, very healthy exercise. And
was that your idea? Who gave you that idea?
Yeah, I don't know. But it's you just sign up for things and you realize you forget about them.
That's the best founder advice I think I've heard in a while.
Like we literally just delete it, and then we make a white list of. The way to do this is we make a white list of mission critical development and hosting tools. So that's good. We migrate those over to a new credit card, or obviously a new set of credit cards. We use Ramp, shout out Ramp. And then we just delete everything else. And if things get canceled and nobody realizes or nobody gets bothered, just it's not that useful. And a lot of people get worried about it at the company, but everyone gets emails. And if there's something they care about, they'll get an email and they'll ask to renew, and then we'll decide. And then every 6 months, we go through every vendor. We let them know that we want, better pricing. It's something that our HR team does to add even more leverage, and it's been super, super helpful. It's like a week of work, and we save $10,000 a month every time at least. Maybe more now because we're vibe coding some tools as well.
Amazing. Well, obviously, as an investor, I will say go ahead with all of those efforts.
Yeah.
I love how often you think differently. This is no surprise why you partnered up with Jeff Wu, who we would be remiss if we did not also give a shout out and speak about on this podcast. So
Yeah, shout out Jeff. He's been a great partner.
Yeah, he's been great. And he's also been a great partner to FLF. You and Jeff together, I think, have always been a few years ahead of the curve, maybe even more than a few years. I know that was part of the reason you got Mark Chen and all these some of the pioneers of AI and best thinkers of AI to invest in Archive originally, was because you were talking about agents, you and Jeff, in a way that no one was really talking about. So using that same Paul foresight, we've gotten a lot of that. But what's something that you think is around the horizon that you talk about in your peer circle that you think people's heads are still in the sand about?
I'll say two things. The first one is we talk to a lot of practitioners and they just have no freaking clue what they can do with AI. It used to be that the limit of the output of your product was a technical thing. Mm-hmm. Like the limit of what a user could do with Archive 2 years ago, or OpenAI or Claude, was, is this built? Does this feature exist? Now, a lot of times the output is the human not knowing they can type that into the text box. Like a lot of people just do not know they could type into the text box or dictate and get something more complicated done. Mm-hmm. And I really think that's the massive, massive bottleneck of productivity in most companies. Like even at Archive, we see people and I'm like, yo, just let me dictate for you. You can, and they're like, oh shit, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yeah, now you know. Great. But that happens at a colossal level when you go downstream in different industries and whatnot. And we talk to creator marketers and they're like, oh yeah, like AI can't like check this influencer's vibe. Like you can.
I can.
Just take a screenshot of the page and put it in ChatGPT, or you can use Archive if you want to do something fancier. But people just have no idea.
Right.
And so I think that's like really important. And the crazy thing is that the delta between people that are cracked and are not is growing exponentially. And there's so many different reasons. Number one, the tools get faster. You know how to use the tools more. You get so much more business context because if you're cracked at AI, you can do 10 times more projects than your peers. Like really straight up, like you can literally work on 10 times more things. And so it's like in 1 year, you have 10 years of experience, right? And that compounds massively. And so I think it's going to be pretty radical how pivotal the difference is going to be between crack people and not crack people. And I talked to a lot of founders and they are going down their team and they're saying, hey, the top engineers, the bottom engineers, not in terms of skills or craftsmanship, but now it's almost purely in terms of AI crackness. Mm-hmm. They're letting go of the bottom cohort of people. And this is very, very real. And it is difficult for people to do. And they sometimes have these hunches that AI can't do things, but they're not spending the weekends trying it. And if they did, they would go so much further. I was at a birthday event over the weekend and I talked to this guy who was like super, super against AI for therapy. And he was like, yo, AI can't solve therapy. I'm doing therapy. It's like it needs a human connection. And then over time we talked about it and he was like, you know what? I actually realized I have a lot of biases here. And shout out to him for the self-awareness. He mentioned that he had used ChatGPT to solve some of his own therapy because he didn't want to open up to therapists. And so after that, he basically became AI pilled. I mean, longer conversation, but that's just one example of someone that could use ChatGPT or Claude every day in their role to make them better, that just principally would not do it because they are stuck in the idea that you just need humans to do therapy. But it's a hybrid. You can use humans and you can use ChatGPT for some stuff. And there's just so many people like that. And I think it's going to be very difficult for them until they flip the switch. But then it's like, okay, great. You're learning how to use ChatGPT today. You're now competing with people that have been mastering this stuff for 2 years now.
Right. It's kind of like you were talking about with compounding data moats. There's the hypothesis that there's these opportunities for category winners, as you know, we believe Archive will be for creator marketing, and in totally new ways than it was before. In terms of like there was first movers and the second movers come up a year later. You're gonna be worlds ahead of anyone who comes up a year from now. Actually, speaking of AI crackness, which by the way is amazing metric, we should be adding that to all official scorecards.
Yeah, it's part of our performance reviews. Especially as we grow the company, I suspect that we will probably pay people 2 to 3 times more if they're AI cracked than market. And initially you would think that like, hey, the non-AI cracked people would get paid regular, but at a certain point, like the company needs to transition to a point where everybody's AI cracked.
That's true. But there was a window of a premium for being AI cracked.
Yeah,
that
no,
I'm
for
hearing.
sure,
Yeah.
1,000%. And it's not that hard. It's just go spend your weekends trying to build shit with AI.
Yep.
And you do that 10 times and you'll be better than 99% of people.
And as a leader, how do you manage maintaining a streamlined roadmap with an army of AI cracked people and real AI agents?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Number one, the roadmap changes really, really fast. So there's not a lot of value in planning for 2 years anymore. Number two, once you have enough engineers that are AI cracked and are running 30 agents in parallel, you kind of don't know what to build next. And the bottleneck becomes confirming what makes sense to build and making sure it's valuable and make sure it doesn't detract from the essence of the rest of the product. And so you go from a world where the bottleneck was previously, hey, like I said before, does my software do this job or does my software have this feature, to, hey, how do we think about the system holistically in a way that compounds, in a way that has flywheels? And so it just shifts towards being much more taste and product constrained versus engineering constrained.
And how does that align with real commercial opportunities against runway when you only have a scarce amount of time and resources, realistically?
Well, it lets you, I mean, it just removes like the software bottlenecks. So you can just go solve customer problems really, really quick. You can move enterprise a lot faster because all of the edge cases on enterprise you can build really quickly.
Right.
You know, hey, seat management, hey, OAuth, hey, this, hey, that, hey, provisioning. Those are all things that are a dictation away now.
Incredible. Speaking of the roadmap, paint us the picture where Archive will be in 5 years.
Yeah, we want a world where you could imagine might be a guy or person at L'Oreal called Joey right now.
Or a person.
Or a girl. I was thinking Joey in my head, right? So that's not a girl called Joey anyway. But there's a person at L'Oreal that manages a bunch of influencers today. They have an email address and a Zoom account and all of that. Joey at L'Oreal.com. They're managing 50 influencers. In 5 years, that email address is going to be powered by Archive, and it's going to be agents running tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of creators across all systems. And it's going to be such better data quality, such better tracking, such better reporting, because our agents will be able to do 1,000 times more of all of the things that humans can't do. They don't have time to do, and it's going to perform so much better. And what that means is that L'Oreal is going to be able to spend finally what they want to spend on creative marketing and really make it a powerful channel. And another way to think about what software is going to look like in a couple of years, you're not going to have a platform. You're going to have a really cute, ours are going to be a dog, like a dog cat called Archie. We're designing the character right now, but we're going to have a really nice character that's going to join your Zoom call. And instead of using software with a mouse, you're going to have a cute little Archie that's going to join your Zoom call, and that's going to be your super awesome agency. You're going to talk to him like, yo, Archie, we just launched this cool hat. Go run this campaign. And Archie's going to be like, hey, performance is good, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to have a real life conversation with a Zoom AI persona that's going to be spinning off and courting a bunch of agents. And so that's going to be the future of digital software. And there's going to be human versions as well, where probably you're going to have microphones in your office that your AI coworkers are going to be able to listen to all the time to pick up all of the context, all of the information, and go do a bunch of stuff. And humans and teams that embrace this technology are going to be able to move so much faster, so much faster. There's still a lot to do with context windows and whatnot to get that, but seeing the breakthroughs that companies like NVIDIA are doing, companies like Grok are doing, it is inevitable that AI is going to be able to do 1,000 times more in the next 5 years, and that will profoundly change how you use it as well. Like, you will literally have an AI that could consume more information than a human can. Right now, humans can consume more information than your LLM. We can watch, we can read, we can listen. We have a lot of stuff in our brain, but it's only a matter of time before AI can do that across so many different things in so many different places. So it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be super crazy.
Well, we are very lucky and excited and honored to be on your journey for the next 5 years and beyond.
Super appreciate working together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Of course. Great conversation.
Stay AI cracked.
Yes, we have to.